Previously on sports, but casually. But I think I'll save my list of our top free agents for, a separate video because this one is getting pretty long as it is. So I decided instead of just generically listing out players that I want the Raptors to pursue in the offseason, I would spice things up a bit, make it more entertaining. Well, try to anyway. So in terms of the structure of this video, I decided to separate it into three parts based on the positions: guards, forwards, and centers. I would be giving 6 free agents in each position, and obviously my number one option would be my most desirable yet unrealistic free agency signing due to our financial limitations or just due to the fact that we struggle to attract free agents in the first place. 2 to 5 would be in no particular order. They'll just be players that I think fit with the Raptors system and with the criteria that I laid out for each position. Lastly, the final player I mentioned would be my worst case scenario signing, and that is a player that does offer some value but doesn't really push the needle for us to truly become a championship contending team. Now that we have the entire premise clear, let's talk about the top free agents that I think the Raptors should sign in the offseason. But guys, before we go any further, as always, please remember to give this video a like, share with anybody you want to, and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate any support you're willing to give. And also, if you're interested in anything I do outside of YouTube, please give me a follow on TikTok and Instagram at SportsButCasually. Both links to my social medias would be in the description below in a link tree. Now, let's proceed. Before we could talk about signing any free agents, however, we must first take a look at our financial situation to see what kind of budget we're working with. The Toronto Raptors entered the offseason above the cap, which means that we could only sign free agents with our non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is close to $10.3 million, or with our biannual exception, which is slightly above $4 million. Now, what exactly are exceptions, you ask? Well, in layman's terms, they're just basically gifts with just a few rules added to it. Only one exception can be used in a season, and they both cannot be combined. However, they can be split up to sign multiple players. Simple enough, right? One major difference between the two exceptions is that the mid-level exception contracts can span up to 4 seasons, while the biannual contracts only span up to 2 seasons. Now, we currently have 11 players under contract for next season, and we're yet to re-sign any of our free agents or our rookie from our 33rd overall draft pick this year, since, the draft hasn't happened as yet. So I think it's safe to assume, I would just think that we would just use our mid-level exception to sign one guy, or if we have to, we would split it to sign 2 players. I don't think we would split it to sign 3. One really good player would be the ideal situation for us. Now that we know what we're working with, let's jump straight into potential guard free agent signings. I think a backup guard would be our biggest position of need over a traditional center, believe it or not. We need to alleviate the pressure off of Fred VanVleet next season. He was overworked and broke down halfway during the season with a bunch of injuries. That being said, this is my criteria for our potential backup guard. He must be an above average 3-point shooter, he must be an above average playmaker, and he must be a positive defender. Well, at the top of my list, I have probably one of the most underrated players in the entire league, Tyus Jones. Jones fits all my criteria, and although he's only 6 foot, which in NBA terms mean that he's a certified short king, he has active hands, which makes him disruptive on the defensive end, so he'll fit right in with the Raptors. He's a good decision maker and passer who rarely turns the ball over, and he can not only knock down his shot behind the arc, but create his own shot in the mid-range. The only problem is, he's one of the better free agent guards available this offseason, so he's bound to be pursued by tons of other teams who can offer him more money, but also potentially offer him a starting role. I wouldn't be mad if the Raptors offered our entire mid-level exception to Jones. He will be worth it. God forbid we don't land Tyus Jones. I still do think that there's some free agents that will be able to fit some of the criteria I laid out previously. Guys like Dante DiVincenzo, Gary Harris, Ricky Rubio, and Raul Neto are all guys worthy of us targeting if the Jones deal does not materialize. And I do believe that most of them would be pretty cheap. My worst case scenario guard signing would be Javon Carter. You see, the Raptors have this kink for signing guys who can shoot and trying to see if we can teach them how to shoot. And Javon definitely can shoot. However, he's an above average defender for his position, so I must give that to him. Now, out of all three positions, we don't necessarily need any more forwards, as we are considerably deep at that position. However, in the NBA, just like in life, you can never have too many wings. That being said, this is my criteria for potential free agent forward signings. They must be able to space the floor. That doesn't mean you have to be great at shooting threes, but just the threat of you being able to shoot them. An above average defender, either guarding the perimeter or the rim, a good rebounder, and they need to be able to create their own shot from time to time. At the top of my forward list, I have Jalen Smith, a former lottery pick who has become unrestricted after only 2 seasons. Thanks, Phoenix. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The sample size is very small. 2 seasons, 78 games total. That's it. However, when he was traded to the Pacers last season, he showed all the promise and potential that got him drafted in the lottery anyway. Protecting the rim, shooting threes, blocking shots, grabbing boards, you name it, he did it all in his short stint with the Pacers. At 6'10", he'll be able to seamlessly switch between the 4 and the 5, giving us another young big man to develop along with Precious Achiuwa. However, since he's still very young and full of potential, he would have a lot of suitors in the offseason. But Jalen, my guy, if you ever want to realize your full potential, come to Toronto, where you'll be in great hands with our development team. Anyway, God forbid we fail to land Jalen Smith in the offseason, there are still some forwards that I would like to see us pursue. There's some good options out there like Bobby Portis, TJ Warren, Taurean Prince, and Kyle Anderson. All of these guys offer us flexibility on both offensive and defensive end, so they would fit right in with the team. My worst case scenario signing for the forward position would be Kevin Knox. If we sign him, he'll basically just be Isaac Bonga 2.0. A wasted roster space. Contrary to popular belief, NBA teams still need centers. Shocking, I know, right? Without good rebounding and proper rim protection, you're bound to give up tons of second chance points and easy points in the paint. This was one of the biggest issues for the Raptors last season, so I would really like us to go out and address it in any way we can in the offseason. Now, my criteria for my potential free agent centers are kind of similar to the ones I had for my forwards, but I would still list them anyway. They need to be able to space the floor. Again, you don't have to be good at it, just need you to be a threat from outside. They need to be a good rim protector and shot blocker, and they need to be a good rebounder. Because you're the big man, obviously. Now, at the top of my list, I have the guy who grew up playing basketball with Sheck West, Mo Bamba. I got home. Now, the former 6th overall pick has been a relative bust ever since he entered the league. But to be fair, he did get drafted by the Magic, who are notorious for failing to develop a lot of their young guys. However, last season, with more playing time, he averaged career highs in almost every single statistical category. He flashed the potential that got the Magic so infatuated with him in the first place. He was a real credible threat from three-point land while also being one of the best shot blockers in the entire league. Three-point shooting and rim protection. That is exactly what the Toronto Raptors are looking for. However, there's still one major problem. Bamba is still a restricted free agent, which means the Orlando Magic have the right to match any offer that he receives in free agency. Combine that with the fact that tons of teams will be going after him due to his skill set, and getting Mo Bamba on the Toronto Raptors seems a lot harder than we expect. God forbid if we don't land Mo Bamba in free agency, there's still some options at the center position that I would like to see us go after. Guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, Mike Muscala, Nick Claxton, and Thomas Bryant would all make great options and should be relatively inexpensive. However, Claxton is also a restricted free agent, and Muscala does have a player option that he would have to decline. Now for my worst case scenario for the center position, and that would be Andre Drummond. I don't have to go into why that would be bad. We already know why. Look, I know I just threw a ton of names at y'all, but that just goes to show you how many good or decent options we have out there in free agency this season. And the front office needs to be aggressive this offseason. We're literally a few pieces away from being a true title contender. So we need to start to put those pieces into place now rather than later. Well guys, there you go. Those are my top 3 free agents the Raptors should go after. Plus I threw in a bunch of extra guys in case we don't get them, God forbid. That just goes to show y'all we have a lot of options in free agency to help fill out our bench and just get more help for our starters really. The bench doesn't need to be, bench mob levels of good how it was back in the day. But it just needs to be decent. We have fantastic starters. They deserve to get a rest from time to time. I don't want to see Van Vliet or Siakam or any of them playing 36 minutes a game anymore. Now I'm well aware that free agency doesn't always work out for Raptors fans and it's normally not the best time for us. But I'm hopeful that we would land at least 1 or 2 decent guys that could help bring our bench unit up to not last in the league, like aim for 20th in the league, and I think that would be a major improvement. Anyway guys, let me know what you guys think about the players I listed for the Raptors to go after in the offseason. Let me know if I missed anybody and tell me who you think the Raptors should sign in the offseason. Tell me all of those things in the comments below. I look forward to hearing them. And without further ado, that is the end of this video. As always, please remember to give it a like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And I shall see you all for my next video. Remember, take care and later.